We're on our way to the Swiss Alps for 10 days of quarantine so we can attend the wedding of Marc's niece. But we can't lie. It was kind of like a mini vacation with lots of time for baking. So we wanted to share a recipe that's really special because it's a recipe from Marc's grandmother, Alice.
I used to make it with her when I was a kid. It's called Munsterthal Torte. And it's a big hit with all our friends.
Sure is. So our Swiss Airbnb was pretty well stocked, but still, Marc's making that recipe like his grandmother did, with patience and a strong forearm.
So you're going to need butter, sugar,
Ground nuts, such as almonds, walnuts, or hazelnuts.
flour, eggs,
And ground chocolate, at least 70% dark.
Kirsch, or another Eau de Vie, in this case, Poire William.
Okay, let's start with 150 grams of butter, or 5.3 ounces that's softened a little.
Then weigh or measure 200 grams of sugar, 7 ounces or a little shy of 1 cup.
Now let's weigh those ground nuts, 150 grams or 5 ounces, and in this case we used hazelnuts. They came ground, so you can pulverize them in a food processor or some other thing if you don't have that option. And I forgot to mention, you need a 9-inch springform cake pan. We brought ours from New York City.
Now weigh the flour, only 50 grams or 1.8 ounces, about a quarter cup. That's a very low gluten recipe.
Indeed.
Now, let's measure the chocolate.
But don't we have a 200-gram bar?
Yeah, we need only 150 grams,
Uh-huh.
but we'll have to take a few squares away.
Ooh.
And it should be good, dark Swiss chocolate, or forget about it.
I'll take that extra chocolate. Thank you.
The grading takes time, but it's good exercise.
Indeed, and the smell of that yummy chocolate really intensifies when you grate it. You getting tired? Nah. You have strong arms from being a percussionist and a baker, right?
That's how you get to Carnegie Hall, baby. Okay, let's make sure that this butter is good and soft. Add the sugar to the butter. And now I am going to separate the eggs, 6 eggs total.
Ooh.
Set aside the egg whites in a separate bowl.
And you're going to add the egg yolks to the butter-sugar mixture and beat them for 15 minutes. Marc, your grandmother Alice actually underlined the 15 minutes on her handwritten recipe. She was serious.
Yeah, that was before Scientific Kitchen.
Aha.
Now it's very important to pay a tribute to the Swiss cow, without whom we would be totally lost as a country.
So true. And I'll set the timer on my watch just to make sure we honor your grandmother too. Are you tired yet?
I'm thinking of those cows and the great life they have.
Indeed. It's pretty idyllic. Wow, that batter is such a deep yellow, and I can smell the sugar.
That's done. I have to beat the egg whites.
By hand?
Of course! In French we say battre en neige, which literally means beat into snow.
And what did your grandmother say after those egg whites were beaten into stiff peaks?
She'd say, get ready, get out the skis.
Fond memories there. Okay, so now you're going to take that butter, egg, sugar mixture, and you're going to add the egg whites and the chocolate. The ground hazelnuts and some vanilla sugar, which you don't really need, but we left it out on the counter by mistake along with the rolling pin, which you also don't need for this recipe, but we didn't want to confuse anybody.
Yes, and finally the flour. I need to fold all these ingredients together gently. You don't want to mix it. Just fold in the egg white, the chocolate, flour, and nuts into the butter batter.
Oops, you also have to cut the parchment paper for the bottom of the springform pan. This is an art project as well.
I actually trace around the pan with a pencil so the paper fits perfectly into the bottom of the pan.
And wait, don't forget the Eau de Vie.
I put 1 shot glass full of Eau de Vie and fold it into the batter at the very end.
And now you're going to pour that delicious batter into the pan, spreading it around evenly. And you don't need butter at the bottom of the pan, just make sure you've got that parchment paper there.
The oven should be 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. And you are going to put it at the lower part of the oven for 40 minutes.
It's time for a little self-congratulatory drink of more Eau de Vie. The Munsterthal Torte is out of the oven. The scent of roasted hazelnuts and melting chocolate is making my mouth water. And it looks delicious, too. Bravo, Marc!
It's late afternoon, just the perfect time for a little quarantine tea time with homemade Munsterthal Torte. Here's the producer.
Hi, everybody! We're enjoying this alpine view and a homemade torte right out of the oven. Sometimes, Marc, it's the simple things that matter.
I have to agree.
She's everything on earth to me. He's